So attention to all life insurance agents. I'm going to share with you the real reason why 99.9% of life insurance agents fail in their first year. This is the video that I wish I saw when I first got started as a life insurance agent. My first year as a life insurance agent, I sold over $550,000 of life insurance. I made a lot of mistakes. I lost nearly $30,000 my first 3 months in this business. And then I had my highest of highs, earning over $20,000 in a month as an insurance agent. And all this would have completely changed. I would have made money so much faster if I knew this equation. And I'm going to share with you guys on my screen here the insurance hamster wheel. I was stuck in this insurance hamster wheel and I almost quit this business. And I can guarantee that if you watch this video, by the end of this, you're going to probably be like, okay, this is why I am not making money as an insurance agent. And at the end of this video, I'm also going to share with you how to get out of the insurance hamster wheel so you can actually start making money as a life insurance agent. If I would have understood this quickly and sooner, I would have made way more money. And I just want to keep it real with you guys. I made a ton of mistakes, and this is why agents fail. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to share with you guys my screen. You can see here. So this is where you're at. So the insurance hamster wheel, this is what kills 99% of life insurance agents. Okay, so this is where you are buying leads. So you're right here. You're at stage one. You are going to buy some leads. So you just got your license, or you might be currently licensed. You are an agent, and the first thing that they tell you to do is just buy leads. Okay, just get some leads in your belt. Get them in your pipeline. You have no system. Maybe you have them on an Excel spreadsheet. Maybe you have them in a very simple go high level process. But they say just buy some leads. Get some leads. Okay, so you get some leads. Now you go to a lead store because you don't know how to generate them, or you don't know how to get a high quality lead. So you go to the CRM store and you're spending $3 to $5 on really terrible leads. So let's say you're buying 90-day-old leads, or 3-month-old leads, or 6-month-old leads, or maybe you're spending $7 to $12 on a little bit fresher lead, right? You don't really know, so you just buy and you start investing in leads because that's what your upline tells you. You're sold the dream. Okay, just buy leads. All you do is you sell policies and you'll make money. So you start buying some leads. You're spending maybe $150 per day, right? And you maybe only have $5,000 in your bank account, or you have $100 in your bank account. And you're like, I'm going to invest all the money that I have. I'm going to put it on a credit card. So you go ahead and you start buying some leads. Then you start dialing all day. Now, here's the second part of this insurance hamster wheel. You start dialing all day, but you start dialing with no understanding of the sales process. You start dialing and you have no training. You have maybe something that you've watched, or you're listening to sales calls, but you have no training. You have no help, so you don't know how to do applications. The person that recruited you in this business is no longer there because they're now recruiting more people because other people failed because they've lived on this insurance hamster wheel. And you just feel stuck. You're dialing leads. You get someone on the phone, then they hang up on you, and you're like, "What did I do wrong?" So you're like, "All right, I just got to keep dialing leads." And then you keep making these mistakes. Your sales process is not dialed in. A script that you're using, you might have been like me. I tried 20 different scripts. You don't have a good script. You have no real process. You have no idea of how to overcome objections. You don't know if your tonality is good. You don't have anybody listen to your call. So you just start dialing all day. You're just this brute force dialing and just trying to sell something. So you have all these leads that you're spending money on, but you don't know how to sell them because you're just dialing all day. And eventually, after maybe 300 or 400 dials, you make your first sale. Okay, so then you go into step 3. So you're like, okay, this is awesome. So you just now somehow closed your first deal, and that's step 3. You've sold your first policy. Now here's the problem: you sold the policy, but you didn't really have a good understanding of how to lock the policy down. You maybe didn't sell the right product, or maybe you had to go guaranteed issue, and you just sell a policy. Whatever it is, volume's on your side, and if you make enough dials, in step 2, you make a few sales, which is great. So then what you do is you then go to the leaderboard and you say, I just sold $1,000, boom, $1,000 per AP, and you then flex that money like you just made $1,000. So you then post it on your Instagram story. You then, are getting shout out by your manager. John just made $1,000. Let's go, John. And then you get all this positive reinforcement, like you're on top of the world. That feeling is addicting. You just sold. Everyone's giving you shout outs. Okay. Now you just sold these $1,000 of premium, but what you didn't realize is that you spent $800 in leads. And after you have just spent $1,000 of premium, let's say you sold a guaranteed issue policy and you spent 800 in leads, and then you are paying maybe off a chargeback, or maybe it was like a small 200 small premium. After all lead costs, after all expenses, and after all the time that you invested, because the systems are just very janky, you actually only made like $55, right? So even though that you're posting on the leaderboard, people only see the good stuff. They see the $1,000 AP, but they don't see that you just spent 3 days, you spent $800 on leads, and you made $1,000 average premium. And everyone's like, you just made $1,000, but you're like, did I not? You're still new in this business. You don't know what's going on. So you're like, okay, I'm going to keep doing it. And then you wake up the next day, even though you didn't make any money, but you're posting it and everyone's giving you shout outs. You're like, okay, I got some reassurance. I can do this. Okay. Then you wake up in 2 days and you realize the policy from last month now charged back. Okay. Then you get step 4, which is some chargebacks. Okay. And this is the reality of the business. You now have been buying leads that you have no consistent lead source. You're just buying leads because your upline is selling. You've been dialing all day. You have no data. You have no analytics. You're just calling whoever. You're calling people who have no idea what you're calling about. You're just doing whatever you can. You finally make a sale after a few days. You sell a few policies, and you're posting on the leaderboard like you're on top of the world. You're making all this money, and then the worst thing happens. You get let's say $800 chargeback or a $500 chargeback, and you're like, oh my gosh, so what do I do? Because you weren't trained the right way. It all stems from step 2. You didn't have good leads. Stems from part 1. You had to force someone to get approved because you didn't have training. You had to approval close or like push it out 30 days, and you didn't have the right training in place. So now you get a chargeback because you weren't trained to be successful. You weren't trained the right way. You weren't trained by someone who's done thousands and thousands of sales. And that's the result. You get the chargeback. Okay. Now your upline really doesn't care, because your upline, they are going to get an override because they're not spending money on leads. They're not spending money on your systems. They're not spending money on anything that you're doing. So they just say, so you go to them and you're like, hey, upline, what do I do now? And your upline doesn't want to pay for your roll-up debt. And your upline knows that you're probably struggling. And your upline probably knows that you have, a chargeback to pay for, but you've already ran through all your leads. So the only solution that they can give you is to buy more leads, right? They don't say, hey, let's listen to a call. They don't say, hey, let's figure out what you're doing differently. They don't say, hey, let's get your, what's your CAC or your LTV. They don't say, like, what's your data, because they don't have any of that. They're just letting you, like, free ball and figure this out. So they say, well, the only solution is that you need to buy more leads. So Peter, buy more leads. You're going to, get more leads, spend another $800 this week on leads, and then you'll close a deal and you pay off your chargebacks. And then you do that. So you take your last $800 in your bank account. Let's take that back. And then guess what you do? You repeat the cycle. You start dialing all day. You finally sell a policy. You wake up, that chargeback's paid off. But when that policy, when you sell that policy, you realize that you only made $100, not $1,000 of AP. And then you wake up, a new chargeback hits because you have bad systems and things in place. And then you're like, what do I do then? And then you dial, close more leads, get chargebacks, and then before you know it, you've spent all your money on leads, you have no real systems in place, you're tired and worn out, and you haven't made money and have all these chargeback debt. This is the story. This is the exact reason. This is the hamster wheel. This is why 99% of life insurance agents fails, because they get caught up in this. Now, what I want to share with you is how can you get out of this, because you're probably living this right now. And how, if you wanted to escape this, I'm going to share with you guys how we've done, almost $950,000 in sales last month, and almost $1 million in sales. And how can you go from a struggling agent to an agent where, things are turning around, you're actually making money? Well, the first thing is you need to have good leads. So in green, let's change this formula. So you need to have a good lead system. A good lead would be a lead that has someone not calling in for a bait and switch. Someone who's not calling in for a free government program. Someone who knows exactly that they're looking for life insurance and they have a problem. Okay, a good lead is that maybe you're getting their beneficiary name. Okay, maybe you're getting how much coverage they want. They want a $12,000 policy. Maybe you're getting some of their health information, like they have diabetes or they have congestive heart failure. Maybe you have a lead where it's not going to be shared, and it's not shared by 3 or more people. Like, it's just an organic lead where they clicked on something looking for life insurance, final expense coverage. They fill out their information and they're actually saying, hey, I'm interested. That is what a good lead is. Now, where do you get the good leads? That's a great question. Look at what big companies do. Like, if you go on Netflix right now, you get advertised. If you go to Google, you get advertised to by big brands. Amazon's going to advertise to you. Tide. Like, all these brands are advertising where your attention is. Where your attention is where you can create a lead, okay? So just note that you can go on any platform. You can go to Facebook and you can market. You can go to YouTube and you can market. You can go to Google and you can market. You can go to Netflix. You can go to Hulu. Wherever your folks that you want to have as your ideal market, if you're looking for 60-year-old people that are, in their they are a senior, where are they spending their time after work? Where are they spending their time in their evening? They're probably on Facebook, and they're probably watching a lot of movies on Netflix, and maybe they're on Netflix. Now it's your skill set to learn how to market to these people to generate good leads, okay? So that's what a good lead is. And then through that, you need to have a good system. So number 2 is you need to have a good system where you're dialing all day with a good script, okay? Where you're dialing all day with, you have someone that's going to be able to train you, okay? Someone who's going to be able to listen to your calls, someone who's going to be able to give you feedback, someone who's going to be able to look at your data, because your data shows everything. If you're not tracking your data, you can't understand where your skill deficiencies are. And what we do is we look at inside of Legacy Family Life. So I'm actually hiring. If you want to join my team, we have a free lead program. We can actually give you all the systems, all the tools, so you can escape this insurance hamster wheel. And you can also even build your own, high commission brokerage as well inside of our company. But apart from that, you want to have data. You want to understand, like, how many dials do I have before I make a sale? How many, what is my contact to presentation rate? How many presentations am I getting per day? How many presentations do I need to make to sell $12,000 a premium? These are all trackable numbers that you can have if you have a really good system. So if you're just manually dialing right now, that's not going to cut it long term. You need to have an automatic dialer that's going to do your lead nurturing, that's going to have, a great script, that's going to leverage AI and send out text messages to your clients, that's going to help you track your data, that is going to allow you to understand, if I put $1 in, I should get $5 out. That I can really predict, and what our agents can predict is that if they do 125 dials, they can make $300. Like, that is the input and output equation that you should do and focus on when it comes to your dialing. You need to dial in your systems with great leads, with a great dialer, with great scripts and great training, so that you can build predictable revenue as an insurance agent. Now, through that, you're going to sell not just a few policies, but you want to be able to sell like 10,000. This is what our agents are doing, 10 to 15K per week, right? If you're only selling 2,000 of volume and you're spending money on leads, or you're dialing all day, you need to figure out how you can increase your volume. And the KPIs that we set, if you have good leads, is that you should be selling 2 policies per day, okay? The 2 policy per day method keeps all the bill collectors away. Guaranteed. So if you're an agent right now and you're like, man, I'm not making enough money, it's probably because you're not doing enough volume in sales. Now, when it comes to your sales, you want to make sure that you're selling the right way, okay? If you are selling the wrong way, such as you're just getting people approved, or you're just seeing if they can get medically eligible, and you're selling the wrong way, you're going to experience the hardships of this business. But if you're selling to have clients for the rest of your life, and you're setting really good expectations, and you're getting them a policy that they're not only going to make their first payment on, but they're going to pay for the rest of your life, you will do well and you will make money. And that really all kind of stems from having good leads. Because if you're calling people who have a true problem that they're looking to solve their problem, then you are going to help them. Okay. But if you're calling people in the original model who have no idea why you're calling, and you're calling them 6 months ago or 12 months ago and they don't really need it, you're going to have a higher increase in chargebacks and bad business being written. So it's very, very important that you sell a few policies, sell that into multiple policies, and then sell it the right way. You want to sell a good product. So you want to make sure that you have a good product, okay? You want to make sure that you have a good transition from sale to customer. Are they getting messages every other day? Are you checking up on them every 3 months as a client? Are you making sure that the money's coming out of their bank account correctly? Are you making sure that you're writing good business, such as, are you writing no card business and you're selling more simplified issue versus guaranteed issue? Like, these are the things that you need to focus on when it comes to selling a great policy. Is how are you selling it? what are you selling, and most importantly, what is your nurture cycle moving forward? If you do that all the right way, you will make money in this business, because what happens when you sell policies the right way, step number 4 is you get less chargebacks, okay? And if you do get some chargebacks, the thing is that your volume will negate any of the risks or the feelings that you get when you get chargebacks. If I know that I have a system that I get leads, I dial all day, I follow a winning script, I have a plug and play model, I can sell 2 policies per day. If I get a chargeback, I know that I'm going to pay that chargeback off the next day because I have great systems in place. And when that chargeback comes, I'm not having to spend my last money on leads to redo the cycle, because you have the people in your pipeline that you can nurture, you have the people that you could sell again to, you have clients that you can work again. But it all comes from, this is a byproduct. The chargebacks are a byproduct of bad leads. The chargebacks are a byproduct of not having a good script. The chargebacks are a byproduct of not selling enough volume, and then you feel it. But if you have 1, 2, and 3 dialed in, your risk of chargebacks will be mitigated. And if you do get a chargeback, you can shake it off, because you can just go back into your system and your flywheel and have predictable outcomes. Because let's be honest, you are not going to you're not going to be able to have 100% sales rate with 0 chargebacks. You're going to have about an 80% stick rate to about 20% of your business. So just prepare that 20% of your business is going to fall off, and that's okay. It's like at anything, right? People cancel things, people change their mind. That is life. But having the right system where you have leads, you can dial and sell good policies every single day will impact your ability to actually make money as an agent. So this right here is the formula where you can go from escaping the insurance hamster wheel that we all so don't want to live, that so many agents live. If you do this, guys, if you actually focus on what I just shared with you, you will make more money, get less chargebacks, actually learn how to sell the right way, and you'll love this business. So I hope this helped, guys. If you want more like this, let me know. And just giving you guys the secrets of what it takes to scale, build, and grow your life insurance business.